Welcome to the series Keep Calm and Kanji On for learning kanji used in Japanese. The reference material I am pulling from is a book by Robert Everman, which can be bought on Lulu or Amazon, links below. This video series does not serve as a replacement for a classroom, so in order to truly benefit, you should buy the book yourself and do the daily exercises and weekly reviews. Alright, let's get started. So, the order in which you will see the kanji in this series is based on this thing called Zipf's law. Basically, it describes a phenomenon where when you rank items like words in a book or a language, the rate of occurrence is proportional to its rank by commonality. So, if the most common word has an occurrence of 1 when compared to itself, the second word has an occurrence of 1/2, the third word has an occurrence of 1/3, and so on. And this can be described as 1 over n, with n being its rank. So in theory, this video right here will be the most useful for learning kanji, and all the subsequent ones will have diminishing returns. But if you're dedicated, I will be releasing more as I too self-study kanji if you're so inclined to keep watching. Alright, so let's go over what this series covers. This series will cover the kanji themselves, common words that use said kanji, limited pronunciation within those words, and some self-made tips that I personally use for remembering these kanji. Some pretty important things that this series does not cover include stroke order, the readings, 100% accuracy. I am documenting my own learning journey, so I am bound to make connections or inferences that aren't actually correct. And a comprehensive learning plan. As I said before, if you are wanting an actual study plan, I recommend using another resource such as the book this series is based on. Okay, so this video is covering these 10 kanji. Ready? Let's go. This is the most common kanji, in no small part due to its meaning as day, sun, and Japan. I know it's very surprising that a character that means Japan would have a wide use in Japan. Now, let's go over the 4 most common words that use this kanji in order. The first, not so surprisingly, is Japan. The word is pronounced Nihon, with ni being the first kanji and hon being the second. Individually, the kanji means sun and then current or present, lending to rising sun. You may be aware that Japan is alternatively known as the land of the rising sun. Next, we have today, which you might have noticed is the same exact kanji as Japan, but now in a different order. This word is pronounced honjitsu, with the first kanji being hon, which is the same as the hon in Japan, and the second being jitsu rather than ni, as in Japan. Again, the first kanji means present or current, and the second kanji means day, lending to the current day or today. Next, we have Japanese person. You might have noticed the first 2 kanji are exactly the same as Japan and are in the same exact order. They are also pronounced the same. This word is pronounced Nihonjin, with the first 2 kanji retaining their pronunciation from Japan and the last kanji being pronounced as jin. The breakdown is the same as in Japan, with the first 2 corresponding to sun and current or present, and the last kanji means person. Together, this essentially means rising sun person, or person from the rising sun, or finally, a Japanese person, as opposed to a thing that is Japanese. This configuration of country plus jin is actually how you say any person of a nationality. So for example, I am American, and the way I would say that in Japanese is watashi wa Amerikajin. Alright, next we have everyday. The first kanji is pronounced hi. Notice that within its top 4 words, it's already had 3 different pronunciations, and that is in part why the series is focusing more on overall meaning than an exhaustive pronunciation. Anyway, so we have he, and then the second character's pronunciation actually depends on the kanji in front of it. It is known as a kanji repeater, and so generally the previous kanji is repeated, but sometimes modified slightly. The latter is true for this case, so it is pronounced as bi. Now, we know by now that the first kanji means day, but the second character not only repeats the pronunciation, but also repeats the meaning. So we have repeating days, day after day, or every day. Bonus word. If you have a hard time remembering that this character means both sun and day, try remembering the word Sunday. The pronunciation of the first character is nichi, which notices yet again different from the previous readings, and the last 2 are actually used together and pronounced as yobi. This word is translated essentially the same way as the English word, with the first kanji meaning sun, and the last two, when used together, represent a counter for days of the week. Japanese uses counters when counting different things, similar to bottles of beer, cans of Coke, pairs of pants, etc., but for everything. It's important to remember that these two are used together, as without the right, the center kanji has no meaning. So there you have it. Sunday, with the same kanji representing both sun and day. Now this is the second most common kanji. Do you recognize it from before? It means person, or more specifically, a human person. Interestingly enough, there's a separate word for human being. But anyway, let's go over the 4 most common words that use this kanji in order. Each person. This first kanji is pronounced as hito, and as before, the second character is the kanji repeater, so it is pronounced as bito. The first kanji means person, and the second character repeats that meaning, leaving us with repeating person, or every person, or each person. Next, we have Japanese person. Did you recognize it from before? The first kanji is pronounced as ni, the second as hon, and the third as jin. In order, the kanji means sun, current or present, or person, giving us rising sun person, or person from the rising sun, or Japanese person. This is not the first word that will be reviewed, since the 10 most common kanji often show up in words with the other. Go figure. Alright, next we have the person himself. The first kanji is pronounced hon, and the second kanji is pronounced ni. In this case, I believe that the first kanji represents main, as opposed to current or present, but it could be that too. And the second kanji means person, giving the main person, the current person, or the person himself. Next, we have adult. I believe the first kanji is pronounced as o in this case, and the second as tona. The first kanji is new, but will be reviewed later in this lesson and means big, the second meaning person, giving us big person or an adult. You'd think that this implies that the kanji for person actually means a kid, but it doesn't. There's a different kanji for that. Alright, so this is the third most popular kanji, a solitary horizontal line. It means one. If you want to write one, just draw one line. Now, let's go over the 4 most common words that use this kanji in order. So, this word means one, and is generally used for things. The first kanji is pronounced as hito, which you might remember the person kanji was also pronounced hito. And the second character is actually just the hiragana character for tsu. The first kanji means one, and technically the hiragana characters by themselves don't really mean anything, but in this case, it is a counter for general objects. So, if someone asks you how many of an item you want, and you only want one, you can reply, hitotsu onegai shimasu. Next, we have one day. The first kanji is pronounced as ichi. This is probably the most common pronunciation for this kanji in my experience. The second pronounced as nichi. The first kanji means one, the second day, giving us one day. Sometimes the kanji are pretty straightforward, like this, where you can just say the meaning of the kanji in order and get the overall meaning. But sometimes, well, let's keep going. Okay, so this word means Japan's best. In order, the kanji are pronounced ni, hon, and ichi. The first kanji means sun, the second current or present, and the third one. You probably recognize the first 2 kanji as meaning Japan when put together, so that helps us turn rising sun 1 into rising sun first into Japan's best. A bit more convoluted, but still possible. This word means one person. The first kanji is pronounced as hito and the second as ri. If you've been paying attention, you'll note that we are now up to 5 different pronunciations for the person kanji. The first kanji means one, the second person, giving us one person. Pretty straightforward. Bonus tip, this word means exclamation. The first character is the katakana for ah, but the second character is not the kanji for one that we were just learning. Instead, it is similar to the kanji repeater we encountered before and repeats the character before it. It literally means stretching note, so the vowel sound of the character before it is stretched. In conclusion, this word is pronounced ah, and is a common exclamation of surprise, just like in English. This is the fourth most common kanji. It means large, big, or university. It kind of looks like a person standing in a way to make himself look as large as possible. Now, let's go over the four most common words that use this kanji in order. This word means convention. The first kanji is pronounced tai, and the second as kai. The first kanji means big, and the second, as we will go later in this video, means meaning. When put together, this gives us big meaning or convention. So, for all of you con-goers, you now know how to say this. Next, we have big in its adjective form. The first kanji is pronounced o, and the next two characters are actually just the hiragana for ki and i. When you see a standalone i at the end of a word, it often indicates that the word is an i adjective, as opposed to a na adjective. This tells you how to conjugate the word. And there you have it, big in its adjective form. Next, we have adult, which you probably recognize from earlier in the video. As before, I believe the first kanji is pronounced o and the second tona. The first kanji means big, and the second person, bringing us to a big person or an adult. Bonus words. While they didn't make the top 4 list, I think the words for love and hate are worth mentioning as they are useful. In this case, the first kanji is pronounced dai, the second su, and the last character is actually the hiragana for ki. The first kanji means big, and when used together, suki is an adjective meaning like or likable. There is no standalone i, meaning this is a na adjective. Together, they mean big like or love. Similarly, the kanji for big can also be used to make the word hate. The first kanji is pronounced again as dai, and the second is pronounced as kira, with the last character actually being the hiragana for i. The first kanji means big again, and when used together, kirai is an adjective meaning dislike or dislikable. In this case, despite there being a standalone i, kirai is actually a na adjective and the i does not conjugate. Together, they mean big dislike or hate, so dai can be used to augment an adjective. Alright, this is the fifth most common kanji. It means exit, go out, or put out. It kind of looks like two e's stacked on top of each other. E for exit. Now, let's go over the 4 most common words that use this kanji in order. This word means to leave. The first kanji is pronounced de, and the second character is actually the hiragana for ru. The first kanji means exit, with the second character indicating a verb. This is a fairly common verb ending used in words like tabaru, to eat, suru, to do, and this one, deru, to leave. So there you have it, to exit or to leave. Next, this word means to take out. The first kanji is pronounced as da, and the second kanji, or the second character, is the hiragana for su. The first kanji means to put out. The hiragana is a common indicator for a verb. Some examples include ayasu, to comfort, jirasu, to tease, and this one, dasu, to take out. Together you get put out or take out. Next, we have to encounter. The first kanji is pronounced as de, the second as a, and the last character is the hiragana for u. The first kanji means to go out. The second you may recognize before as meeting, and the hiragana in this case represents a verb. As far as I know, the kanji for meeting is the only one to be combined with u to make a verb, and you can make several words using the form verb plus au. Anyway, this essentially breaks down to an outing meeting or an encounter, a chance meeting while you are out and about. Next, we have Japanese soup stock, normally fish stock. The first kanji is pronounced as da, and the second character is the hiragana for shi. The first kanji means exit, and you will just have to memorize this one because the characters don't really clearly indicate the meaning. If it helps, the kanji for exit kind of looks like tridents you can use for capturing fish, and shi kind of looks like a fish hook, so together you get 2 images that look like they are associated with fish or fish stock. Okay, let's move on. This is the 6th most common kanji. You have seen it a few times now. It means book, basis, this, present, main, or real. Here are the 4 most common words that use this kanji in order. This word means Japan. you have seen it before. The first kanji is pronounced as ni and the second as hon. The first kanji means sun, the second current or present. Together they make rising sun or land of the rising sun or Japan. This word means today. You have also seen it before. The first kanji is pronounced as hon, the second as jitsu. The first kanji means present, the second day, which brings us to the present or current day or today. Next, we have Japanese person. You know the drill. In order, the kanji are pronounced ni, hon, and jin. And in order, they mean sun, current or present, and person. Put them together and you get a rising sun person, or a person from the rising sun, or Japanese person. Another review word, this means the person himself. We've been pretty lucky so far with pronunciation for this kanji, as it is pronounced hon in this and the other words we've gone over today. The second kanji is pronounced as ni. The first kanji I think of as meaning main, and the second as a person. Together you get the main person or the person himself. Bonus word. Although this word didn't make the top 4, it means truth and is fairly commonly used. Again, the first kanji is pronounced hon, the second as to. The first kanji means real, and the second kanji means right. Together they mean actually correct or the truth or reality. Say it with me. Hontou ni? This is the 7th most common kanji. It means year. Let's go over the 4 most common words that use this kanji in order. This word means middle age. The first kanji is pronounced chu, and the second is pronounced as nen. We will go over this later in the video, but the first kanji means center, the second means year. Together you get the middle years or middle age. This word means years. The first kanji is pronounced nin, and our friend the kanji repeater is back, and as such is also pronounced nin. The first kanji means year, and as is typical of the kanji repeater, it repeats the meaning of the kanji before it, giving us every year, year after year, or years. This word means whole year. The first kanji is pronounced as nen, and the second as ju. The first kanji means year, and the second means in. Together they make in the year, and with some mental stretching, whole year. This word means this year. The first is pronounced as expected, hon, and the second also as expected, nin. The first kanji means present or current, and the second means year, giving us current year or this year. Now this is the 8th most common kanji. It means country. Now let's go over the 4 most common words that use this kanji in order. This word means China. You might remember from before that the first kanji is pronounced as chu. The second kanji is pronounced goku. The first kanji, as we will go over later, means middle, and the second means country. So together we get the country in the middle, or China. My understanding is that the Japanese were aware of countries further west of China, and so China is the country in the middle of them and the other countries. Bonus tip. Although Japan and China are written using kanji, most country names are actually written using katakana, such as America, Australia, and Italia, or America, Australia, and Italy. Next, this word means the national diet. The first kanji is pronounced as ko, and the second as kai. The double K indicates there is a pause between the first and second syllables, so instead of kokai, it's kokai. The first kanji means country, and as you might recognize from before, the second kanji means meeting. Together, you get a national meeting or the national diet. This word is the counter for countries. The first character is katakana for ka, and the second kanji is pronounced as koku. The second kanji means country, and together this is the counter for countries. This word means our country. The first character is the hiragana for wa, the second character is the hiragana for ga, and the kanji is pronounced kuni. The breakdown of meanings here is a little different than usual. Wa is the shortened form of watashi, or I, and ga is the subject marking particle. The kanji means country. Effectively, that makes this the country that is mine, or our country. This is the 9th most common kanji. You probably recognize it by now. It means in, middle, or center. It is a rectangle with a line right down the center or middle. Now, let's take a look at the 4 most common words that use this kanji in order. This word means China. Did you recognize it? The center kanji is pronounced like chu. The second is pronounced as goku. As we've just learned, the first kanji means middle and the second means country. And as discussed before, the country in the middle of Japan and the other countries is China. This word means China and Japan, but I bet you could have guessed that by now. The first kanji is pronounced chu and the second as nichi. The meanings come from the first kanji of their country names, Chugoku and Nihon. Together, that makes China and Japan. This word means Chinese person. The first kanji is pronounced chu, the second goku, and the last jin. In order, the kanji mean middle, country, and person. Put it together, and you get person of the country in the middle. As discussed before, country name plus jin is how you say any person of nationality. This word means daytime. The first kanji is pronounced ni, and the second is chu. The T plus chu combo is meant to represent a pause between the first and second syllable, so rather than nichu, it's ni-chu. The first kanji means day, and the second means middle, so essentially you have middle of the day or daytime. Alright guys, the last one. This is the 10th most common kanji. It means meeting, meet, society, and association. Let's go over the 4 most commonly used words with this kanji. This word means convention. As a review, the first kanji is pronounced tai, and the second kai. The first kanji means big, and the second meeting. Another word for a big meeting is a convention. This word means to meet. The first kanji is pronounced a, and the second character is the hiragana for u. The first kanji means meet. As I mentioned before, when u is added to this kanji, it makes it a verb. As far as I know, this is the only verb with the structure of kanji plus u, and many verbs are made with the structure of verb plus au. So, together this means to meet. This word means national diet. The first kanji is pronounced ko, and the second as kai. As discussed before, the double K represents a pause. The first kanji means country, and the second means meeting. Together, you have a national meeting, or more specifically, the national diet. This word means to encounter. The first kanji is pronounced as de, the second as a, and the third character is the hiragana for u. As discussed before, you can use the structure of the kanji for meeting plus u and add it to another verb. This makes it go out plus to meet. That gives you a meeting when you're going out, an outing meeting, or an encounter. Alright, we did it. It's time for review. Let's go over the 10 most common words that use these kanji. I'll show you a word, count down from 5, and reveal the meaning. Ready? Go. What does this word mean? Japan. Next, what does this word mean? The person himself. Next, what does this word mean? Convention. Next, what does this word mean? Adult. Next, what does this word mean? China. Next, what does this word mean? National diet. Next, what does this word mean? Today. Did the order of the kanji trip you up? Next, what does this word mean? To encounter. Next, what does this word mean? Japanese person. And finally, what does this word mean? One day. Alright, Hopefully, this video helped you learn the 10 most common kanji used in Japanese. If you need further review, feel free to rewatch this video, buy the book this series is based on, links below, or another self-study resource of your choosing. And remember, don't panic. You got this. Bye!